what had happened is someone else that uses another Adonis domain purchased that domain to prevent us using it. Now at that time, I felt sick. I felt almost like ill.
I felt so sick in the stomach and I was like, oh my God, that's everything. Felt like everything had been
destroyed. Most of our clients have been with us for about 15 years plus.
What had us, that solar company, which we doubled their revenue in 9 months.
If you lose data, you lose information, you lose insights. That means you can't make proper data-driven decisions.
You're wasting money in leads that, having to constantly pick up the phone, you're spending actual money to get them.
The .com is by far the most strongest domain.
Scrap it before you get too attached to it. You need to ensure that you're purchasing .com.
One of the biggest problems we've come across at the time as an agency was that everything was fragmented.
I had so many problems to try and get things sorted. It just was taking weeks. Now I think it's up to like 20 touch points before they actually make a decision.
You need an entire system in place to help you execute.
I was actually out for dinner with my partner's family, just on the phone trying to fix what was going on. Rebrands are not for the weak, I will tell you that.
It's too much for one person to do everything.
And that's something that we take very seriously.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in business to make money.
Hi guys, welcome back for the podcast. So today is actually quite a special one because we're actually recording from Glasgow at the moment. So we're in Scotland, which is where we're from originally. So it's really cool to do this one here. And the topic of today's podcast is actually going to be around our rebrand, which is heavily tied into our Scottish heritage. So it's quite cool to be doing this episode in Scotland.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, Chloe did a lot of research into a business name. Actually, it was for a previous business, let's be honest. Yeah. Which we were going to...
It was like 5 years ago we were going to do that.
Yeah, so, and she came up with this one word name called Boderia. And as it turns out, Boderia itself is all about the Firth of Forth and rising from the mire, and where there's chaos underneath, and you need to lift out of the chaos so that everything is essentially governed and it's non-chaotic, which is exactly what we've been doing with Adonis Media over the past, probably 22, 23 years. Yeah, so it's all about the rising up from the mire. The mire is the chaos and the dirt and everything, just mess underneath the Firth of Forth, and what we're basically doing is we are rising above that to be a governed kind of system, if you like.
Well, the high ground, that was pretty much what it was meaning.
That's right.
But even at the time that we had Boderia, so the whole thing of how Boderia came about was because I was actually working in a beauty salon and they were using a system that was so
antiquated.
Yeah. It had so many problems to try and get things sorted. It just was taking weeks to get things that should be done, that was prohibiting their success in the salon. So I thought, oh, Derek being a software engineer, let's build this. This is the best that's out there at the moment. We could build something that's way better. Unfortunately, at the time, we didn't have the team that we do have. It was literally just me and you, and I think Asfahani, who's our server manager. So we pretty much, we just never ended up doing anything with it. But we still had the logos, we still had the domains, we still had it registered as a company. So when we were doing this rebrand, what we were actually going to do was call ourselves Adonis Revenue. Yeah. Bought the domains, or so what we thought we did.
Yeah, so there was an issue around the domains, and generally I purchase all the domains. I kind of focus more on the technology and the software and things like that to make sure everything's working as it should be. And lo and behold, when we went to purchase Adonis Revenue, I got a success message, but it actually didn't go through. And it wasn't until 3 days later when I went to add that domain to our cloud infrastructure that I realised that I hadn't actually went through and purchased. But what had happened is someone else that uses another Adonis domain purchased that domain to prevent us using it. Now at that time, I felt sick. I felt almost like ill because everything we had built over the past 22 years, we were keeping the Adonis butterfly metaphor and all that kind of stuff because that was tied into everything that we did. Which is why we had Metamorph IQ and Metamorph OS as intellectual property services and software. And then we decided to when that happened, just to crack on with Boderia, but it's actually worked out a lot better than what I originally thought, and how everything ties together, including the Scottish roots, and so it's working much better. And over the past 22 years, well, probably the last maybe 7-8 years, I've been developing our own, which started out as a CMS. And that CMS started to become the system where everything that we did was actually, I was just building additional functionality into that CMS, such as a CRM, a sales pipeline, and everything was just working really well. So that then has become essentially part of that governance system. So now, we know, and anyone that's got a business knows, it's not just a website that you need all these other tools to try and get things to work. And one of the biggest problems we've come across at the time as an agency was that there was so many different tools, and everything was fragmented. So the services were fragmented. A client, if they're looking for a website, they'll go to a web designer, or they'll go to a marketing agency to get their ads done, and an ad agency and all this kind of stuff. And I just feel that it's so fragmented that there's a lot of data and everything being lost through these cracks. If you lose data, you lose information, you lose insights. That means you can't make proper data-driven decisions. It also generally means that there's things falling through those cracks, which is essentially revenue, which is why we're in business in the first place, to drive revenue so we can all live in a really nice house and car and all this kind of stuff. So what we've done is we've created the system.
Yeah, so when we changed to Adonis revenue, it felt like everything was going in the right direction. It was like, we had the Metamorph IQ, Metamorph OS, we had everything sorted. The name was kind of following that. To then realize that we didn't have the domains, I felt physically ill, and I was actually out for dinner with my partner's family, like just on the phone trying to fix what was going on, like trying to figure out what was happening. And yeah, like literally got home and I felt so sick in the stomach, and I was like, oh my God, that's everything. Felt like everything had been
destroyed.
Yeah, like everything we had worked for was it. It was done. And then I think it was you that said we still have Boderia, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, what about Boderia? And I was a bit like, oh, I don't know. And then we were thinking, actually thinking on it, it's memorable, it's straight to the point, whereas like Adonis revenue is Adonis revenue. Yes. And then it can get a bit confusing with like firms and all that sort of stuff as well.
Plus as well, what we found is when we were in Australia, Australians were pronouncing it Adonis. So while we were Adonis, they pronounced it Adonis. That just didn't sit right with me. Yeah. So I always that used to annoy me, that actually. So.
And another problem we actually seen is there's actually 200 variations of Adonis. So whether that's Adonis revenue, Adonis media, Adonis, it was So
in other words, it wasn't unique.
No, it wasn't unique, and to get that trademarked would be a pain in the ass. Like it would not be. You would not be able to get Adonis trademarked.
No.
Because it'd be the person who had Adonis first that would be able to trademark it.
Well, it's no, I mean, there's loads of other issues around that as well. Plus,
trying to get the domains as well was a pain.
Aye, so anyway, it's turned out better anyway.
This is your sign if you're going to do a rebrand. Make sure you're doing thorough research into the meaning of the word, where it stems from, if it's available. If it's not available on a domain, scrap it before you get too attached to it. You need to ensure that you're purchasing .com.co.uk if you're in the UK, .com.au if you're in Australia, wherever, depending on where you are listening from this.
Well, realistically, what I would recommend there is to try and consume as much.
All of
If you
them,
can get
yeah.
the .com is by far the most strongest domain, the top level domain. So start with .com, use .com if you can get it. If you can't get it, there are alternatives, because there are domain squatters out there where they purchase domains in the hope that someone will eventually pay $100,000 for it.
Which is actually, we have Boderia.io, but Boderia.com was taken, and it was taken way back when we tried to first purchase it, and they were selling it for 6,000 grand AUD. Now I think it's like about 4,000 grand they're trying to sell it for. But as we start to build this brand, we'll be able to get it.
Well, we will be able to get it eventually, yeah. But it's not a big concern. It's a site, it's a domain squatter that's actually squatting it at the moment. So we'll be looking to get a world trademark on the name Boderia. That doesn't automatically allow us access to get that domain. But if we can prove that they're using it to cyber squat and try and get money, there are options, but it's not a big concern at the moment. I mean, most people don't really type in domain names nowadays anyway. What they basically do is they go into Google and they type in what they're looking for, and then they find your website that way. It's not, and to be honest, if anybody types in Boderia,
we're the only ones.
We're the only ones there, and that's the beauty about having a unique name. Is you're the only one there.
Well, that's how you end up building something like Nike, Hermes, Louis Vuitton. It's memorable, it's easy to say, it's different, unique. What was the scariest part about rebranding? Because I think our rebrand has probably been a bit more of a lengthy process than what it needed to be.
Well, the problem with the thing is, I mean, I'd obviously been building Adonis Media for best part of like 20 odd years, so letting that go, I suppose. But we needed to transform, we needed to change.
And to let the viewers know why we changed from Adonis Media is because the word media wasn't relating to what we actually provide our clients. Media was like, when I would tell people, oh, I'm the CEO of Adonis Media, for example, they would think, oh, you do social media, or you post content kind of thing. And it kind of got disregarded to what we actually do. And then when I first brought up the conversation about it, I know you're like, no, we're not changing it, it's good. And then as you started to think about it, you're a bit like, oh, actually, I agree that media doesn't resonate with what we currently do. And you've had Adonis Media since the internet first started. You've seen the development of websites, of social media, of, all this different things. And it's okay for your business to progress, to rebrand, to change, to innovate. That's showing that your business can outlast.
That's right. And I mean, that's what needs to happen. And it needed to happen to Adonis, I suppose. But going back to your question about what was a scary thing, I think taking that business and evolving it into something that it was. I mean, I knew that Adonis Media wasn't actually serving what we were providing, because people associated it with tactical stuff. And tactical stuff is required, but you need everything else in place. And I've seen so many different businesses, and they're maybe good at one thing but really poor at the other. And really, to progress with the results that we get for our clients, even within that first 12 months of operation, you can't do that by just focusing on a wee bit of marketing or a wee bit of sales. Now you need to bring everything together, and that's exactly what we've been building at Boderia.
Yeah, but you even look at, like, I have somebody who's currently getting a website developed, and I think he's been waiting on it for like 6 months, and that's just for a website. Do you know what I mean? It's like, whereas like, we're working with Confern, and we've done a rebrand, we've done a whole web development. We're almost, maybe it's like through the website at the moment, and it's only been 3 months of everything, but realistically 2 months of doing the custom development and the website sort of stuff. And I think that's also the difference, is it's about being there for your clients, like there, and ensuring that they're growing. And that's something that we take very seriously at Boderia.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in business to make money. That's why the outcomes we're delivering is not just a website. A website is part of that. It's not just a CRM. The CRM is part of that. It's not just tactical services, but the tactical services are required. And that's why you need that full holistic view of it, which I don't actually see any other agency really doing that, because, and this includes bigger agencies as well, where they're maybe working with HubSpot and they're a HubSpot partner and they do everything on HubSpot, but I don't think a lot of them really get into the nitty gritty of the business. You know, they only try and solve the problem when the client knows that there's a problem exists. What we do is we actually go in and work with the business, and we spot problems, and that's the whole thing about having that governance system there, is that can help you see where the bottlenecks are, where the problems are, so that you can solve them.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think the problem is as well is, you know, they'll engage somebody for the website. So they look at the website, and once they've done the website, they're not looking, oh, this can be updated, that can be updated, and saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that. That's it done, and you know, you can pay me my monthly fee. And then you go to lead gen agencies, and the whole point of lead gen agencies is to give you as much leads as possible. So even if they're crap leads, you're wasting money on leads that, you know, having to constantly pick up the phone, you're spending actual money to get them. You know, you want high quality leads so that when you call them, the decision's already made and
That's
they're
right.
coming over to you. And then you have the whole point of, even if you have high quality leads coming over and you're not converting them and you've got a low conversion rate, okay, so now I need to look at your sales process. Are you only calling them once or sending them a quick message saying, hey, it's Chloe from Boderia, go message me back? Or are you following up with them constantly? Because we live in a society where everything is so quick, and people forget a lot of things. So your sales process needs to be multiple touch points. Your marketing needs to be multiple touch points. I think when I first started, maybe about like 5 years ago, it was about 12 touch points. Now I think it's up to like 20 touch points before they actually make a decision.
And the reason for that is because, you know, it's about building trust.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we try and instill in our clients as well, whereby, you know, it's not just about, you know, doing a bit of ads and a bit of this and a bit of that. That's why you need an entire system in place to help you execute, because it's too much. It's too, even for you know, where companies have got a team, kind of a couple of marketers, a couple of salespeople. It's too much for one person to do everything, and that's where the system comes in place. And that's essentially what I've been building for the past 8-9 years, or probably 8 years now. And that's why it's now, when we implement it, you know, it helps drive the marketing and the sales, and everything ties in together. I mean, another example of this is, most of our clients have been with us for about 15 years plus, and one of our clients actually has a website where it's never really done Google Ads or anything like that. But he's a kind of ad hoc type of guy, you know, he'll do a bit of this and a bit of that. So we'll let him kind of do what he needs to do. But the problem is because he's been trying to do the website, his own website himself on HubSpot, he thinks it's good, but, you know, he's struggling to get,
From a conversion
from a
point of
conversion
view.
point of view, he's just not got that expertise or skills to understand about like there's multiple forms on one page, and it doesn't really, you know, there's
It's a bit cold.
no story behind that, there's no human element, you know, these kind of things, and everything that you do matters. So when you're spending, like, you know, 10 grand a month on Google Ads or paid ads, you need your website to be absolutely smick. It needs to be written and designed for your ideal customer persona, you know, with their preferences, no yours, but theirs, etc., etc. And there's just so many different things, moving parts within any business, really, to help acquire and retain more customers. And that's essentially what we try and help our clients do.
Yeah. And it's definitely worked, you know. We've had that solar company, which we doubled their revenue in 9 months. We've got Joel on, and he's 5 times his revenue in a year, and he's not even doing the full thing yet. So it's good. It works, and our clients trust us, which is good. And I think the name change has also helped with that. Having that level of trust, that high quality, we're perceived a bit higher, a bit better, a bit more like the expert.
That's right. I mean, this is probably the first time that we've done branding ourselves properly as well. And it's taken a long time and it's been expensive. But it's been well worth it, and it'll pay for itself a million times over, as it already is.
It's not even going to just help us. It's going to help, Cedric. It's going to help Parth. It's going to help, our whole team to be aligned on the same goal. Yeah. It's going to help our team when they're posting content, that it's all the same. Everything is unified. Everything is easy. So when people are scrolling, they know it's Boderia when it's coming up. It's going to make it easier for our clients to recognize us. It's just made everything so much easier. While it has been lengthy and it's felt like a drag, and I think some people have been a little bit confused of, oh, who's Boderia? And then they're saying, oh, it's Adonis Media. Oh, what's happening? So I think that's probably been the hardest part, is the actual switch of the rebrand. Yeah. From people being like, oh, who's this, to now having to trust us again, almost.
Yeah, but I think that's good, and because you can see the change. I mean, our last logo, the butterfly, which I absolutely loved, was really quite intricate. Whereas the one that we've got now is just so much more. There's just so much more meaning to it. Yeah. And it just seems to work better. I mean, that's just obviously the brand identity stuff, but even like down to our story and the outcomes that we deliver, and all our positioning and all of that is now coming into effect, and people are resonating with it.
Yeah, and just to let you guys know, so Derek actually grew up in West Lothian. Yeah, West Lothian, as a little kid, and then he moved over to Fife, where I grew up, and the Firth of Forth actually connects those two together. Yeah. So it's just everything it's beautiful. It shows our connection. It shows the connection we have to Scotland. Yeah. It shows the level and quality that we provide to our clients, and the impact we have on them. And it has definitely been the best thing. Would I do it again?
Nah.
No.
I wouldn't want to do it
that
again.
was, rebrands are not for the weak, I will tell you that.
No, I mean, you need to have a good reason to do it, and our whole reason to rebrand was because what we were delivering in terms of the outcomes had changed, so we were just no longer in alignment. And if people are saying, is it what is it that you actually do, then and generally most people were tending to think that you're just another marketing agency. You're just in the sea sameness, and that's absolutely couldn't be further from the truth, because I don't know anybody else that does what we do. Most even other agencies and software companies, most software companies don't even write their own website software. They use other systems like HubSpot and WordPress and Joomla and all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but we use our system, and we started building our system because the other systems just didn't give us that governance that we needed. That whole
it was very limited with what we could do on other systems. So now I can go and say, hey, can we get this added? And either you or Taha get it added, or our client can say, hey, I really want to add this calculator to help my, reduce that friction with my my leads that are coming in. Yeah. Can you add that? And then it gets added.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if those are kind of revenue levers, whereby those are opportunities that can bring, that kind of add additional traffic, say for instance from AI or whatever, or search engines, and bring those prospects over because they want to use this calculator, then that's the whole point of building brand and helping people, So if those calculators and things, help you get out there and attract more people to you, and more people learn about you, then that's customer acquisition in a box right there, So And I think that's important. And one of the other things that's important with that as well is normally there's no additional charge either, because you're all, you know, we're already working together. There's a monthly fee. We know that, you know, that our business, while we start with a core system, every client takes that core system and we mold that system around their business. So what generally happens with most other websites and tools and things is you need to take your business and try and fit your business into that tool,
Yeah.
rather than
The opposite
the
way.
opposite way around, which is the way I think it should be done. You know, because a lot of software and platforms and things like that are there to help you grow your business. So that needs to evolve with how your business evolves and the needs and requirements of the business, and how you can better serve your customers with, even if it's like an onboarding process, which most organisations should have, etc., etc. So we would have like an onboarding system already there, but we mould it and we edit it so that it works specifically for that particular client, to help, you know, reduce the time and onboarding customers, to improve the customer experience, to retain more, to expand with current customers, and a whole host of different things. So that is super important when delivering the revenue outcomes that we like to deliver.
Yeah. So we've rebranded from Adonis Media to Boderia. So we are now Boderia. The sticky situation that we're in now is, do we rebrand our podcast or do we keep it the Adonis Effect? Now, to me, keeping the Adonis Effect doesn't align with Boderia because now we've rebranded that.
So you've just answered your own question there. So we need to.
So I want to ask the viewers, do you guys have any ideas of names that you like, or anything that kind of fits the Boderia? We want to hear from you first before we change it over.
Yeah, because we've already selected a name which is in line with our whole brand story and things like that. So in my personal opinion, that's what should be named. But let's see what the viewers think, and let's hear other people's opinions.
I would love to hear from the viewers if you have any good names that kind of align with Boderia and what we do and how we do it, and the podcast.
Well, I mean, what you could do is you could maybe even provide the names to the viewers of the ones that we've already cherry picked, and see, because if they can't come up with a name themselves, they might actually be able to resonate with one of the names we've already selected, and maybe even provide the reasoning why we've selected that particular domain.
Well, what I'll do is I'll post this on the Adonis Effect Instagram page. So make sure you go there. It's just at the Adonis Effect podcast. Follow us there, and then I'll post it on there, and you can give me your votes. Cool.
Awesome.
Amazing. Well, we will see you next week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, because we post conversations like this every single week. And this one has been a very special conversation because we're in Glasgow.
Yay, Glasgow.
Right. See you next week.
Bye.